Hi, Andrew.
Great to be on your show.
I wanted to talk to you because you have something I quite like, which is tech, business, law, all rolled into one. So why don't you start by telling us what's the big idea?
Okay, so the big idea of JPB Liberty is litigation funding for the crypto space, for the crypto community. Now, as many of you know, the crypto community has been under attack from some of the tech giants like Facebook and Google and others. And they censored, they banned all the ads of the cryptocurrency industry.
Wait, crypto, that's Bitcoin is the big one that everyone's heard of, that's exploded into people's minds because it went very high and then it's crashed back down again. But you're saying nothing to do with that.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that for people that actually understand what's going on in this crypto space, is that there's a massive technical disruption where behind all the headlines about prices of Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto coins, behind that are thousands of technological projects, startups that are changing the way we work online. That everything that exists online today was based on a centralized, a trusted central party, be that your bank, be that Facebook, be that Google. And that model has a lot of problems. One most important being is censorship of alternative views, privacy breaches, which we've had with Facebook, and the fact that effectively Google and Facebook and some of these others are completely controlling and taking over our lives and taking away our online freedom. So cryptocurrencies are actually just the support mechanism for a broad change to decentralized applications for pretty much everything that exists on the web. You don't need a bank anymore. You can be your own bank with cryptocurrencies. You don't need a Facebook company anymore because you can have decentralized social media where not only do they not steal your data, but any money to be made by your content, you make that money. YouTube, rather than worrying about being demonetized if you go outside the very narrow bounds of political correctness to the right or even to the left, YouTube type substitutes like DTube, DLive, BitChute, that you monetize your own content and you will get paid for your content a lot more than YouTube because there is no middleman. Anything can be replaced by this. Uber, okay, you don't need a centralized Uber. There can be peer-to-peer, decentralized mechanism for people booking taxis, for people sharing work, the sharing economy, the gig economy, all these things. There are startups, and sometimes a lot more than startups, fairly advanced projects with working applications that are looking to replace everything in this space. And so when Google and Facebook banned the advertisements...
You just said a lot of stuff there. Okay. I want to pick a couple of things. I remember back to the earliest days of the internet because I was on it.
Yeah.
And the internet was decentralized. Prior to Google existing, we had a bunch of search engines whose names have been forgotten, Lycos, and there was and Yahoo to a certain extent is still around. But you're right. If you wanted to get on the internet, if you wanted to say something to the internet, you built a website and it was yours. And it was on your server and it might have even been in your office.
That's right. There was no gatekeeper.
Correct. And now we've moved to this thing where if it doesn't appear in the Google search, people assume it's not online. And right now, Trump just yesterday hit Google and said, "Where's all the positive news about me?"
Yes.
Because Google's that gatekeeper. And what you're saying is that the blockchain is the underlying technology, and Bitcoin is just a manifestation of that. It's just money on the blockchain. Those things can get past these gatekeepers.
Yes.
Now, the next bit is what did Facebook and Google do about this year?
So what we've witnessed this year is a massive censorship of online views, online thought of commercial competitors just this year, and you know, it's like that poem. First they came for the communists. I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I wasn't a Jew. It's the same thing. The Facebook and Google, they first came for the crypto industry, and they banned draconian ban of all advertisements, anything to do with the crypto industry. You want to get people on your blockchain-based social media, you can't advertise on Facebook.
You can't buy a Facebook.
You can't buy a Facebook ad. You can't buy a Google AdWords ad for anything to do with crypto, which includes not just the actual currency, but all the applications, all the things that are competing with Google and Facebook. So that happened in at the end of January, that Facebook announced this ban, and it dropped cryptocurrency markets by $300 billion, 50%.
That's just the currency side of this. That's not the wider.
That's right. And also, it dramatically affected the ability of all these new online projects to get new users, because they were being quite successful at getting new users, and Facebook and Google started to see the threat and decided to get together and ban the ads.
Now, and the key metric for any startup in this space is acquisition of new users.
Yeah.
Cost of acquisition, how many users you get, how quickly. So, and it's just a fact of the world that paid advertising on Facebook and Google is one of the key ways in which new startups get users.
Exactly.
So and what was their rationale that they gave?
Their rationale was, they basically said the entire crypto industry is a scam, or so much of it's a scam that we can't tell the difference, which was one based on virtually zero evidence. It was like saying we're banning Nigeria from the internet because of some people doing Nigerian scams. The fact is, in crypto, the scams are not people in crypto, they're people pretending to be in crypto, just like the Nigerian scammers are not actually Nigerian. And to ban a whole industry that is coming up to change the world because of some bad actors who mostly aren't even in that industry, really, it was a smokescreen for the real issue. The real issue is that these decentralized crypto-based projects are a fundamental threat to Google and Facebook's strategic business model. Their strategic business model, and if you have a look on Wikipedia, look at their acquisitions. Their strategic business model is that they both came up with a clever bit of code 15 years ago and have really done very little to add value to that core code since, but they've been milking masses and masses of revenue.
Both of them are advertising based.
That's right.
Everything else is
That's right. They monetize other people's content. And so they've had huge amounts of cash, and they realize that competitors can arise. And so what they do is they go and acquire potential competitors before while they're relatively small, before they reach the threshold that antitrust law would prohibit that acquisition. So they're end-running antitrust law because the tech industry moves so quickly and regulators don't move quickly. They're end-running antitrust law to basically buy up all the potential competitors and anything that could fit with them. So now they've gone from having a few cool algorithms to owning most of the internet. They own everything.
What percentage of advertising?
Two-thirds of all online advertising in the US is controlled by Facebook and Google.
And in terms of
including on YouTube and Instagram and their subsidiaries. So it's a massive oligopoly or duopoly that they hold.
So basically, other than paid television advertising and billboards and the few magazines that remain, they own a considerable proportion of all advertising.
Exactly,
as well.
Absolutely, all advertising. They are controlling the gateway to the main gateway by which most people these days get their information.
So by taking the step of a blanket ban on an entire industry, crypto, without saying it's up to us to now discriminate, is this a scam or is this a legitimate crypto business? They've just stepped back and said, no, ban from advertising.
Right. And then what's very interesting that has followed, because there was not sufficient pushback, is that we'll just ban other things we don't like. We'll ban, conservative, libertarian websites.
Books about
books.
Islam.
We'll ban left-wing sites that don't comply with the mainstream liberal leftism. We'll ban everything we don't like. We'll shrink the public debate to this very narrow, very left, mainstream liberal left view of the world and not allow any other thought. Now, this is where we get to the issue of monopolies and antitrust law, competition law. Now, the original antitrust law arose because of the Rockefeller oil, Standard Oil type monopolies where they controlled just the oil, the railways, the steel and all these things. But they never controlled our minds. These are the most dangerous monopolies that have ever existed. They are global. I come from Australia, and Australia always had media ownership laws to say there were 3 commercial TV stations and 3 newspapers, and they couldn't own each other because you had to have diversity of media ownership so you could have diversity of thought.
Diversity is our strength.
Yeah. And what's happened here is that Google and Facebook are eliminating all diversity, and not just in one country, across the whole world. Now, I started JPB Liberty because I saw that this was anti-competitive. Against freedom of speech, obviously, but they're commercial organisations, it's anti-competitive, it's antitrust violations, what they have done by banning the ads of their competitors. They dropped the market by 300 billion when Facebook announced it, and another 100 billion when Google announced, and then another 95 billion when Google actually implemented, because their announcement and implementation was separated. So this is potentially the biggest class action of all time.
Okay, so let's get now into your company and what it's going to do about this.
Okay, so my background is as a technology lawyer, a competition lawyer. I worked as a competition and regulatory lawyer for Australia's biggest telco, Telstra. I've worked throughout my career both in startups and big tech, and I have quite good competition law antenna. I instinctively know if something's problematic. So the minute I heard about Facebook banning the ads of all the crypto competitors, and I knew that, unlike most people, that this is not about what's going on in markets. It's about not about the currencies or the money. It's about the competitors, about the tech applications. But I knew this was potentially an anti-competitive breach. In fact, a cartel, because Google and Facebook have done it together. And so I looked it up. I researched the Australian law, and I found that yes, it's actually quite a clear breach of Australian competition law. And also, Australia is a good place to do class actions. And so I decided to start my own litigation funding company to bring this class action, but using the models of the crypto space. So typically litigation funding companies get their money from private equity, and they run a whole lot of cases.
Let me just explain that. So by private equity, there's 2 parts to this. Somebody has to pay for the work of the lawyers bringing the case.
Yeah.
And then there are people who stand to benefit.
That's right.
And they've both got sort of aligned interests, but somebody has to pay for it. Sometimes it's the people who are bringing the case who will pay for it, but it's also outside investors who are just hoping to get a return. Right.
So in this sort of case where you've got millions of people...
Oh yeah, why is it millions? Why is it not just Australians?
Well, because in Australia we can actually sue Facebook and Google for their worldwide conduct in breach of this...
and the people who are part of the class action can be anywhere?
It can be anywhere.
Oh.
Anyone in the world can join this class action. It will be run in Australia under Australian courts, but claiming damages for the worldwide damages from this. So in a class action, it's when you have lots of people with similar claims. And usually the case is that no one person has the motivation and the financial resources to bring that claim. It's very similar to a shareholder class action. And we see these all the time. Whenever a company does something wrong, the lawyers are jumping on to do a shareholder class action.
Apple had batteries.
Facebook's for their 20% drop with things. It happens all the time. Now, this is a little bit like that, except this is about a competition law breach by Google and Facebook that caused the drop in the market for crypto holders, cryptocurrency holders. So anyone who owned cryptocurrency, at least $100 worth in January, can join this claim. And if we're successful, they'll get substantial compensation. Now, how do you fund this? Because when you bring litigation, especially in Australia, you have to put up a bond to be able to bring the litigation, and if you lose, you have to pay the other side's costs. So it's a risky proposition. So in order to do this, you set up a litigation funding company that will raise the funds and provide the guarantees, pay the lawyers, and also manage the lawyers and manage the whole process. And that litigation funding company typically takes about 30% of the end damages. It's the same sort of thing in the US. It's often even more than 30%.
That's what when they say no win, no fee. What
That's,
they mean is there is a fee, but only
if you win. That's right. And that fee comes as a percentage of damages. So I've taken this model, which is a well-established business model in Australia. In fact, Australia has some of the biggest litigation funders, including a listed company. I've taken this model and I've said, okay, this is a good model, but we can adapt it to the crypto space and make it even better. One of the things, if you want to invest in litigation funding, you have to invest in a portfolio. You invest, say, in a listed company that has 70 cases. Now, that's nice for conservative investors, but it means you can't take bets on an individual case. And if you want to invest in something smaller with a smaller portfolio, you're in the private equity space, so you've got no liquidity. So one of the things about crypto is a new fundraising method to issue tokens.
That's what people call ICO, initial coin offering.
Or internet coin offering. Yeah. It's you can call it different things. It's basically a crowd sale.
Yeah.
It's a crowd sale, and it gives a token or a coin on the blockchain that's tradable, and they can represent different things. In most of the crypto things, they represent a currency within a decentralized ecosystem. But in this case, we're just giving the token holders a share of that 30% damages. So in fact, 25% of the damages will be split amongst the token holders.
Okay.
So it's a high risk but potentially very high return investment that people both in the crypto industry and potentially outside the industry might be interested in. And what's really nice about it is that these tokens are tradable. Okay, so they'll be listed.
You don't need to wait until the end.
Exactly.
So if it's looking good, and I mean, you then providing information all the way along during the litigation.
Right. Yeah.
If it's looking good, or you need to upgrade your house, you can trade these tokens on the open market.
Liquidity is key. Litigation can take a long time, and people who invest in litigation funding can have their money locked away for a long time. And what happens? They need to pay for their daughter's wedding or something, and they want to get that money out, and they can't. Liquidity is really important, and it makes, once you add liquidity to litigation funding, it makes it a much more attractive investment than it was before.
I mean, it's still at the far end of risk reward.
Yes, it's
high reward,
high risk, high
risk.
reward. So I mean, look, we've just talked about this case as a $300 billion case.
Yeah.
Okay, so the case will cost millions to run, but it's probably single-digit millions.
Yeah.
And we're talking about damages that could be in the 1, 2, even potentially 3-digit billions. So that's a really nice ratio. So let's say this case cost $5 million to run, and the damages, let's say we're conservative, and the damages are $5 billion. Well, that's 1,000 times return on investment. That's very nice. Equally, you could lose or you don't. But it's the high risk, high return investment allows people to take a punt on something that they may very ideologically support. I mean, we're getting a lot of support from the crypto industry because obviously they don't like being called scams and having their ads banned, when actually what they're trying to do is change the world, change the world for the better, to move away from people who are monetizing other people's content without compensation, destroying privacy and censoring thought. We're trying to move away from that, and these bad guys are actually calling the good guys scams. So it's a bit ironic, but the good guys have to fight back, and we're providing the mechanism to do that.
I mean, taking on Facebook and Google together in a case in Australia, that's, these guys have got as close to infinite money to throw at anything as they, but the timing is very interesting because they are under huge pressure. As I said earlier, Donald Trump last night was tweeting about Google.
Exactly.
That he's been having a go at Facebook. I mean, Twitter, I guess, is sort of on the side because they're not so big in the advertising world. They're not as successful.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter did join in this ban, but Twitter's less. It doesn't move markets. Yeah, it doesn't move markets the same way. Facebook and Google are just absolutely enormous.
Because advertising is actually their only revenue stream.
Yeah.
Google makes no money on any of the other stuff it does. All it wants you to do is sit down and search for things.
Yeah, that's right. And advertising is about monetizing other people's data. The reason the advertisers pay is because Google and Facebook provide very targeted advertising. Why? Because they've analyzed all their users' data and, one way or another, whether legally or not, breached their privacy to allow those advertisers to target them. Yeah. And those people who have their content, big data eyes so they can be targeted, they will receive no compensation for that. That money all goes to Google and Facebook. Yeah.
And even when they do have monetization schemes, like on YouTube, which I know, you get pennies. You get absolute...
Exactly.
Even if you can monetize, the returns have become less and less. So you put your content out there, the lion's share goes to Google. Yeah. What do people do? So where do they go to find out more?
So the website is www.jpbliberty.com. Now I should explain, JPB stands for John Perry Barlow, who was one of the founders of Internet Freedom, the Electronic Frontiers Foundation. We named our litigation fund after him because this is about internet freedom. So jpbliberty.com. There's a sign-up form. It takes 2 minutes to fill out.
And it's literally no win, no fee. You sign up now. If you had any crypto or any... and it's not just holding.
It's not just holding crypto. It's if you were involved in a crypto project, if you were mining, if you were an advisor in crypto, if you were any way part of the crypto community or industry, then you're part of this. Now, you can be part of this. And the second thing to remember is that it can be anonymous. A lot of people in crypto want to stay anonymous, and we've set this up so it can be anonymous. You just create a unique username, create a unique email, set up yourself a new Proton mail address with something new, a new Telegram or something like that, and it can be fully anonymous. We don't have to know who you are. We just need to be able to communicate with you so we can tell you, update about the case, and hopefully at the end tell you, how much money you've won and how to get it.
And that's if you just want to join as a no-win, no-fee.
That's right.
But you can also,
we're also going to be offering tokens. At the moment, we're probably just doing it as a private sales, but we may well, depending on how things are raised and regulatory issues, offer it more broadly. We are fully legally compliant in Australia because litigation funding is exempt from securities law in Australia. And obviously if we're selling to big players, that are accredited investors and stuff, that's not a problem. We're still looking at the issue of selling outside Australia to non-accredited investors. We're not sure whether we'll need to or not. We certainly could people be able to invest in the claim, and we'll probably give an opportunity, particularly perhaps for bigger holders who we know automatically are effectively above their accredited investor, assets test, just because of their crypto. We'll be able to offer them the opportunity to buy in and have a greater part of this and support it. Yeah.
But even along the way, this is a great way of firing a shot across the bows of these companies. They're obviously going to be talking to Congress and Senate in America, but it will be very good to be putting pressure on them every which way we can.
Absolutely. Look, if Australian courts rule, as I think they will, that this is illegal and a breach of Australia's competition law, Australia's a well-respected jurisdiction. You will find other regulators having a look at their own laws and seeing that the same problem exists.
Europe's got very tough
exactly, and also the threat of the damages here. We're not. Google and Facebook are very big companies, but this level of damage that they've caused to the crypto industry is enough. If the orders get to the hundreds of billions of dollars, that's enough to really cause them problems.
Yeah, it's not cash flow fundable. It's part of that.
That's right. So this has the opportunity to not just protect the crypto industry, recover people's losses, but it also has an opportunity to really go against this broad-ranging censorship, because the same arguments can be made against the censorship of the both intellectual and commercial competitors that sites like Alex Jones represents. He's not just an intellectual competitor, he's also a commercial competitor.
Because in the end, their business model is taking somebody's content, gathering your attention, you the audience, and selling you to the advertiser. And so InfoWars, Alex Jones, competes with YouTube.
Exactly.
Because even though he's putting his content on YouTube, he's gathering people's attention.
That's right. He's trying to bring people to his own sites, his own apps, so they're competitors. So the same argument that you cannot gang up to ban your competitors' advertising or restrict your competitors' access to services, that's a clear antitrust breach.
I mean, the cryptocurrency field is a really good example because it's got that money element to it built in.
That's right, because it's got the money built in, and also because all these applications are competing with everything Google and Facebook do, from cloud storage to cloud computing to search engines to social media to blogging platforms to video sharing platforms. There are multiple competitors to Facebook and Google across every single thing that Facebook and Google do. So that is a very, very clear attack on competitors. I want to go back to talking about how the web was back when we were young. Well, we're showing our age here, Brian. What you're talking about is Web 1.0, the original internet, where there were no gatekeepers, where everyone had to set up
HTML on a server in search.
And you set up your own website, and there was freedom, and there was no one controlling anything, censoring anything.
Link tags.
Yeah, but there was a problem with that. It was free, but no one could make any money off it. Correct. Then we moved to Web 2.0, which is all these centralized companies, Google, Facebook, etc., who worked out how to monetize the internet via advertising. But that has had these very negative consequences, which we were just talking about. And now we're moving to Web 3.0, which is bringing back the decentralized, the freedom, the no one is a gatekeeper aspect, but maintaining the ability to monetize. But the monetization will be controlled not by the central party, but by the users themselves. So this is the evolution of the web.
I like the idea of a value for value model, is that we will start being able to have ways of giving value directly to the creators we like. And that terrifies Google and Facebook.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's probably enough. Thanks for watching. I've been Brian of London. I'm going to stick this on my channel and Andrew will use it.
I'm Andrew Hamilton, the CEO of JPB Liberty.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.